Welcome to Marking the End Times. I'm Mark Hitchcock, and on today's program, I want to talk about something that's been very near to my heart the last few weeks. So I want to talk about and answer the question, what will we do in heaven? And what are saints who've died and gone on to be with the Lord doing there right now? Now, I've been thinking about this a lot recently because my wonderful mother, Carolyn, went to heaven on January the 26th. And my father, Dale, went to heaven last year on March the 6th. So I've lost both of my parents in less than a year. And I've thought about a lot of things really over the past year, and especially in these last 3 weeks. But one thing that I've just pondered over and over again is, what are my parents doing now in heaven? I think all of us have probably asked that question at one time or another about a loved one who's gone on to heaven. What are they doing there now? And we want to answer the question too, so that we'll have some idea of what we're going to do when we get there ourselves someday. So that's what I want to focus on today, is answering that question. What will we do in heaven? Now, before we get to a little bit later in the program, I want to talk about Revelation chapter 6. We're going to continue our exposition of the book of Revelation, and we've made it to chapter 6. And so we're going to begin the tribulation period, the opening of those first 6 seals, the Four Horsemen of the apocalypse, one of the important chapters really in Bible prophecy. So a little bit later in the program, we'll transition to our continuing exposition of the book of Revelation. But let's answer that question now. What are we going to do in heaven? I ran across an epitaph that's on a woman's grave, and it says this: "Here lies a poor woman who always was tired. She lived in a place where help wasn't hired. Her last words on earth were, 'Dear friends, I am going where washing ain't done, nor sweeping, nor sewing. And everything there is exact to my wishes, for there they don't eat, and there's no washing of dishes. Don't mourn for me now, don't mourn for me never, for I'm going to do nothing forever and ever.'" I thought about that with the passing of my mom, because she did so much caring for us and washing and doing dishes and taking care of our family. But while that epitaph's funny, it's not true. That's kind of a caricature of heaven. We have this idea that we're going to, sit on a cloud, strumming a harp, or sitting around forever polishing our halo, or, just pursuing our favorite hobbies, golfing or fishing or hiking or whatever it might be. But there's a lot more that is going to be going on in heaven than that. And so let me just mention 7 things that I think will mark life in heaven. Now, here's the first one. The first thing that the life to come will be marked by is stopping. By stopping. In heaven, we will rest. Revelation 14, verse 13 says this: "Then I heard a voice from heaven say, 'Write this, blessed are the dead who die in the Lord from now on. Yes, says the Spirit, they will rest from their labor, for their deeds will follow them.'" Now, I don't think this means, when it says we're going to rest from our labor, that it means we're going to be idle, or there's going to be a total cessation of activity. What we're going to see in a moment, that we're going to serve in heaven, and we're going to be supervising in heaven as well. But what I think it means is we're going to stop struggling, we're going to stop laboring, we're going to stop sinning. And that's going to be one of the greatest things about heaven. Think about that. We'll no longer have a sin nature on the inside or sinners on the outside around us. So there'll be no sin inside us, and there'll be no sin outside of us either. Heaven will be the end of the sanctification process in our lives, of transforming us more and more to the image of Jesus, because we're going to be glorified in heaven. Heaven will mark the end of persecution, the end of spiritual warfare. We'll have no more attacks from our enemies, the world, the flesh, and the devil. The battle will be over. So to me, that's one of the great aspects of heaven. One of the great things about heaven is the stopping, the things that won't be happening there in heaven. We're going to lay down our burdens and our struggles and our labors there in heaven. So that's the first thing. The second thing the life to come will be marked by is solving. There are many, many things that you and I don't understand now, profound mysteries that will become clear when we get to heaven to be with the Lord. 1 Corinthians 13:12 says, "For now we see in a mirror dimly, but then face to face. Now I know in part, but then I will fully know, just as I also have been fully known." So our knowledge now is very partial. It's very piecemeal. Understanding is limited. One of the things I think about all the time is how much more I'd like to know, especially when I read the Bible. A lot of things that I don't understand, I'm not able to fully grasp. And the Bible tells us that someday we will. Like we see right now in a mirror dimly. But in heaven, our questions are going to begin to be answered. Our knowledge will increase. Our understanding will expand exponentially. The inexplicable will be explained. Our questions will be answered. The mysteries of life will become manifest. You know, there's a quote I heard sometime years ago. I think it was D.L. Moody, the famous preacher, who said that sometimes God puts his saints to sleep in the dark. And that's true for all of us. Sometimes we go to sleep at night in the dark, wondering about things, pondering mysteries, why things are the way they are. But someday in heaven, we'll begin to have these questions answered. You know, my dad always asked me questions about the Bible. My dad loved to read the Bible, and I missed those times with him. And I'd go over there, and he'd say, "Son, I was reading in the Bible, and I was reading over here, and, you know, what does this mean?" And he loved to ask questions, and he always wondered why some things in the Bible weren't clear and why we couldn't know things, some things with more certainty. And, you know, I thought about this as I was preparing this lesson today here, and that is my dad now knows a lot more than I do. Now I'd like to ask him some questions because he's there with the Lord and his questions are being answered. So heaven's going to be marked by solving. The third thing heaven will be marked by is studying.